Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Inkpod Podcast. Today, we're with Dan Neto, same last name, we're cousins, no surprise there, who is the CEO of Print Geek. He's also the founder of the business as well. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So today we're going to dive, deep into print on demand. As you guys know, my background is POD. I was in business with Dan, and he could kind of touch on that a little bit. Sean's also been making a big push into POD starting in January. So I think having a very POD centric episode is something that obviously our audience want to listen to. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I think the best way to kick off is Dan, maybe just talking a little bit about the history of Print Geek, how it started, the journey so far, and how you've kind of differentiated yourselves against your competitors in the ever-growing print-on-demand space.
Yeah, thanks. So, Print Geek, what is it? We are a tech-driven manufacturer of mass-produced, personalized products, and we primarily service large global e-com websites. And so what all that means is we act as a final stop in the supply chain to empower merchants through our clients to produce products like t-shirts and other products that we'll get into that these merchants don't have the means to creating themselves, right? They're really focused on the marketing, the sales of a lot of these products, which you see in a digital form, in a mock-up, online through Shopify, Etsy, Amazon, and the list goes on. But they don't have the equipment, the know-how necessarily to create that. So we're that stop in the supply chain to making that magic happen and shipping those items directly to their end customers on behalf of our clients, which these merchants work with very closely. So, origin story. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I did that for a few years. I moved into the construction industry. Fast forward 10 years later, I was an apprentice electrician for about 4 years. My cousin Zach and his best friend bought some equipment off of Kijiji to make t-shirts using a vinyl press and some other equipment. They were struggling with the equipment. I had used a lot of that equipment throughout my career, and I started going over to their house to help them and show them how to use the equipment, the software, and what have you. And it got to a point where I got tired working as an electrician. I didn't see myself doing it for long term, and eventually I made the decision to quit the trade and invest a bit of money with Zach and his buddy, and we bought our first piece of equipment, which was a direct-to-garment printer. We renovated a garage. We loaded it with t-shirts. We started selling all kinds of crazy designs on Etsy, and we just kept on growing. So I think it was a perfect storm of getting into the industry about 10 years ago. It was still, I would say, the Wild West of creating t-shirts. A lot of people were doing all kinds of things. It wasn't saturated, and the market was great. So we ended up creating about 15 stores on Etsy. Each store was specific to a certain theme, with about 1,000 designs on each of those stores. We got into the trademark game, protected some of the ideas and what have you. And so once we proved the business model, we started offering it to friends and family and said, listen, here's what's selling, here's what's great. Why don't you get into this? Here's how you do it, and let us do the printing and manage all of that back end fulfillment for you. And so we started acquiring small clients, and I think it was around 2.5 years into the business that we landed our large enterprise size clients. So they're very big, artist-based marketplace. They needed a Canadian fulfillment. So we re-geared our technology to really be able to handle that level of business in a different way than we've been, at this point doing. And brought in a lot of inventory to meet their needs, some specific equipment, and we started printing for this company. And it was much higher volumes in certain aspects, much lower margins. And And it was challenging at times, especially with the technology not working as well as we wanted to in the early days.
And I think that was both on equipment and also technology, right? I mean, we at that time we're outsourcing the development to a company and paying a lot of money every month, and it was a constant battle of getting the technology to work the way it was supposed to, and also the equipment. The equipment we brought in, we thought we were buying the Ferrari, and this thing. Well, it was like a Ferrari. It was always in the shop, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a struggle. And then if I remember correctly, we were supposed to get up and running with the client in October. By the time we got it running, it was November, peak season, and we were just getting hit with volume we had never seen before. It was crazy. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we were a little ambitious.
It was wild. It took us about 8 months to really onboard the client around the tech, getting the equipment, getting the inventory, training the team, and then we just jumped right into the fire. Maybe days or even a couple of weeks before Black Friday, and we were just getting hammered. The system was breaking, and we were able to get out of it and keep the client pretty happy. But man, it was a lot of stress. It was a wild ride.
At that time, I was doing the. Dan had already had a serious relationship. He was living and at that time I was doing the night shift. So I would print, I think, from like 8 p.m. till like literally 8 in the morning or something crazy like that. And I got my dad, who was he was an electrician, and I said, Dad, like, I could pay you $15 an hour. Can you come work like 12-hour shifts, no breaks, and come work like 7 days a week for 2 months? And he did, and it was a really fun experience. That's my dad's cousin. So my dad and his dad are first cousins. So me and Dan are second cousins. But yeah, we had to get the whole family involved to get through that one.
I
Yeah,
don't think a lot of print shop go through that. Like you get the hot market printing, right? That's similar to that in the sense like it's a massive rush. You don't know which game, like which team is going to win, so everybody's staying in the shop. The machines are all prepped. But like the POD game for like the holiday Q4, it's nonstop until Christmas. Like
Yeah.
it's really like it's life changing.
And to throw something at you, you're talking about hot market printing. Imagine, you get your press the week before, the Super Bowl finals, and it's like, okay, we kind of got it running, and it's like, all right, glad you're up and running. Here's 500,000 pieces that you need to print and ship within, three or 4 days. So it was wild.
yeah. It's
Same.
it's not ideal for anyone. So I mean, if you can obviously plan around that and avoid that situation, definitely better. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do to make it work, right? So I guess to finish the origin story, it got to a point where Zach, his now two buddies, which you guys talked about on the last episode, they really wanted to focus on the direct consumer kind of model that we had been building out up until this point, and I said, listen, we really set out on this journey to fulfill for other people. I'd like to continue on that journey, so we parted ways. I continued with that one client and a few employees, and we continued on that path to today. So it's that was over 8 years ago. So to give you an idea, today we're around 36 employees. We were actually almost at 50, but we utilized quite a bit of technology and improved equipment systems to get that number down while increasing productivity and volume, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Last year, we produced over 650,000 single unique T-shirts. Average order size was around 1.7 units per order. Over 1 million sticker decals, and we'll get into some of the other products after. And yeah, it's growing, and it's exciting to kind of talk about this and share this experience with you guys.
I think it's fun. That's why we got into it. I think the whole market is going that route. But while you're talking about products and stickers and t-shirts, I know that you guys are constantly trying to evolve and offer more products, right? And to me, I see like that's the print on demand game, but it also scares me in the sense because in my mind it's like a jack of all trades is a master of none, right? So what's the process of being able to offer something new for your customers and you know that it's going to maintain quality and its uniqueness? Like, what's the process for you to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to enter DTF now, or maybe it's going to be mugs, or maybe what's that veto process like?
Yeah.
And maybe talk about the products that you've gotten into, because I mean that's been
Yeah,
growing over the years.
for sure.
Touch on all the different things that you do, because you don't just do DTG.
Yeah, so over the years, we've really grown our product range beyond just the direct-to-garment. So we have about over 2,500 different apparel SKUs on hand. Everything from a newborn baby onesie to a unisex 5XL, baseball raglans, fleece hoodies, tank tops, you name it, in every size, color, and style. Beyond that, we also produce dye sublimated mugs and phone cases. We also just recently got into direct-to-film for hats, so dad hats, bucket baseball caps, and we're also printing the stickers with wide format eco-solvent machines, soon to launch photo products with aqueous printing equipment, and also just launched a luggage product. So fully customizable luggage insert, which is really fun for influencers and people that are into sports and just business people generally traveling. So a lot of different products, a lot of equipment. You know, Sean, this gives you anxiety, right? How the heck do you master all of these different things without messing it up?
I don't know if you
Exactly.
mentioned posters as well. You do posters.
Oh, we also do posters. Soon it'll be easier to say what we don't produce
Yeah,
rather than listing all
crazy.
the things that we do produce. And the posters are also done with the wide format eco machines.
They're actually Dan. He's or Sean. He's running the Mamaki, which is the same DTF that you run, and he's running the same Epson machines for his stickers and posters. So
Oh,
you
I
guys
love
have
that
kind of
machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, it ties into kind of answering the question. It first starts off with a few things, and one of those things is getting the right equipment for the job. There's a lot of equipment out there through third parties, uh, and those third parties don't necessarily comply with the highest quality assurance standards that you would expect. People are leaning towards certain machines because of cost and other maybe ease of use kind of situations. But the problem is a lot of these other machines don't have the right service. They don't have the right parts and support. And when it goes down, it totally affects your production and then ultimately hurts the end consumer. And so I think starting with the right equipment is one of the key aspects to being able to do multiple products well and not have to worry that the machine's going to break down or that the quality is going to start suffering prematurely, right?
And Dan,
Into the ownership.
Dan, you've always had a firm belief of like, buying the best equipment, but also not being married to one technology. So you're the largest brother shop that's doing POD in Canada and also the largest rock shop. So, you do DTG, but you have different platforms for, different workflows and customer needs as well, right? So that's something else that you've always felt that, you can't just necessarily be married to one brand. You have to be willing to, be native in a sense, obviously, with reliable equipment to meet your customers' needs.
At one point we had Cornette, so we had Brother, Cornette, and Rock simultaneously, which is not easy to manage from a tech support, a consumable procurement kind of standpoint, and also harder to train because now you have different machines, different workflows around those machines. How do you choose which garments are going to which machines? Or which products are going to which machines? It starts to add a lot of complexity. But to your point, you really need to have a pulse on the industry because it's changing. Every 2 to 3 years, there's a new piece of equipment. Is it faster? Is it better quality? Does it offer more value? More materials that you can print onto? You really got to, I guess, get into that mindset where, to your point, let's not marry ourselves and tie ourselves down into one brand. Let's make a business decision that's going to propel our businesses forward to offering the best quality product to having the most ease of use and go at it that way, right?
I remember when we got into the business and we had all the brother machines and the cornets, and we would have customers all the time come to us and say like how are you guys? Dan, you also do embroidery. You have the new Tajima TMEZ. Yeah. Oh wait, I forgot. You also have a UV DTF machine that I sold to you 6 months ago that is you haven't even inked up yet. Dan likes buying equipment, so he hasn't adopted the Tajima yet into POD. He started off with a 8 head. I think the same one that you got. Is yours a short or a stretch, Sean? Oh, Dan's is a stretch because I couldn't get the short, so Dan got a stretch. But everyone looked at it and they're like, I just don't understand. Like, how do you guys run that business just doing high volume? They're like, why don't you get into screen printing? Why don't you get into embroidery? And it was something that we talked a lot about. I mean, I remember we were getting quotes from Rock on oval machines and M&Rs, and we were really looking at getting into the screen printing. But Dan, you were always very motivated to not get into that contract screen printing business. You felt, and we obviously felt at the time that POD was the future. Fast forward now to how many years has it been that you've been in it's what, 10 years now, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, 10 years ago when we first had the vision of getting into POD, what are your thoughts now on the future of print on demand? What trends and innovations do you see shaping the industry in the next few years? Where do you think it's going?
Yeah. So I'm a strong believer that on-demand, just-in-time manufacturing as a whole is what the world needs to get beyond a lot of the problems that we're seeing. And there's a lot of problems with environmental sustainability, hiring, labor shortages, skilled workers retiring. There's that huge gap that we continue to talk about. It really comes down to, can we make anything that we interact with on a day-to-day basis on demand, personalized to you, right? Whether it's the garments that you're wearing, the glasses that you put on, the watches that you wear, the stitching in your car, whatever that is, however you want to personalize it, it should be able to be personalized quickly and efficiently. So we're not, mass producing these items overseas, spending many, many months developing concepts and what have you, and then shipping it back to North America or Europe, distributing it, and then the impacts on the supply chain and the risks to businesses to hold all this inventory and then liquidate unsold inventory. It's a big mess, right? The future of print on demand is going to be a lot of technology, automation, robotics, and a lot of levels of AI, whether it's the traditional AI or the future of AI. We need to really lean into these trends because it is the future.
I mean, touching on
I think you see, yeah.
we've had a couple conversations around AI and how a lot of companies are already starting to adopt that. Besides maybe how you use it personally on a day-to-day, are you using any AI in your facility now?
Yeah, no, not beyond just personal uses with GPT. Funny enough, I just watched one of many chief economists talk about AI and the uses and the needs of these uses in people's businesses, and really just debunking the terminology AI, because it's just thrown around too loosely right now. Really AI is a few things. It's a combination of machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, and predictive analysis, right? And it's really a prediction machine, right? You have a problem, you have multiple options. How can you use this technology to narrow down the options so you can make a really great decision? It might not be the right decision, because that's obviously subjective, but it'll at least eliminate a couple of decisions that you definitely shouldn't make. And so really it's just a tool like anything else. And obviously there's a lot of fear and uncertainty around it, and we don't need to talk about that. But focusing on the positives, I think it can touch a lot of really great elements around more traditional operating style businesses like, we're all running here for analytics around production efficiencies, flows, supply chains, marketing efforts, HR, sales, and the list goes on, right? So we're going to see a lot more of it in the next 18 to 24 months. I do believe there's going to be another quantum leap, and it'll be really exciting. Right now, it's very novel, and people are using one of thousands of tools, and it's overwhelming. But in the next year and a half, 2 years, it's going to start condensing down into real tools that we could see real action on.
I think that's when it's going to be super exciting, to be honest. I mean, just the Ray-Ban goggles that the Can of Corn was talking about last week. I mean, that's just an advancement in itself, right? You have Meta GPT, I think that's inside the goggles, so you can train your Meta, and then you can talk to him like, what am I seeing right now? It can tell you what you're seeing. So if he's on a problem, like on a press, and he's like, hey, I'm having this issue with a press that he's rebuilding, it's going to go back through all the things that he saw and what he told, and it's going to give him like two options or the best route to take. I think that's real work environment where you can actually use it and enhance your workday, right? That's where we're going to see a massive leap. But 80% of the people don't even know what ChatGPT is. They know AI, but like they don't know. And then you get 20% of people that know ChatGPT, but then do they actually use it? I think about 5% of people actually use it. And when you start implementing in your day to day, and then you get the new iPhone, what is it called? The iOS 17 now that just came out, that you can talk, and ChatGPT is integrated directly into your phone. So now, like I've had over a year and a half of ChatGPT that I built into my phone, and I'm just talking to him constantly about things like, hey, what should I do with this? What do you think about that? What about this aspect of the business? And it's not always giving you the answers, but it's giving you clarity. That's what I feel is the best, like with me and how I've used it. A lot of people use it for artistic stuff, right? Some of our clients that do POD here create 90% of their designs with what's it called, Midjourney, right? And I mean, they're selling a lot of shirts doing it, and I'm like, wow, that's a market I never thought would be tapped into. Props to them to do it, right? So I think that's going to be interesting too to see how that's going to evolve, and then automating things like creating bundle like products for your website into a bundle batch automatically. That can be done with AI. Like you have to be creative with those things, and I think that's going to be super interesting. But it's touching bases.
I think the big takeaway from what I listen to and what I tell people is you don't have to be great at it. You don't have to, implement it into your business today, but start exploring. See what it can do for you. See what its limitations are. Test it, right? And I use it for so many things, so many weird and wild things, just to see what comes out of it. And it's really surprising sometimes, right?
I mean, a funny example, we were just in Vegas at Printing United, and we were at this bar, and they have this like, off the menu hidden drink at, what was that place? Chandelier Room in one of the hotels. It's on the second floor. And basically it's like a drink, and you take this, what kind of bud was it again? It was like
it's a type of plant called a Szechuan button.
Yeah, that's it. Szechuan button. So basically, the way this drink works, you take a drink, and then you chew this Szechuan button in your mouth for like a minute, and then you drink it again, and it kind of just changes the whole experience of the drink. And obviously, like they're not going to tell you the recipe. And then I think Dan's like, oh, let me see if I can find out. And he asked ChatGPT about the drink at that one place, and it literally said like, oh, it's a very popular drink at this place, and this is how it's made. And then I showed the bartender. I said, okay, listen, I figured out what's in the drink. Can you just let me know where to get the Szechuan buttons? And she's like, yeah, we get them on Amazon. I'm like, okay, cool. And we figured it out. That's right? Awesome. So yeah. I mean, it's amazing how they were able to figure out the recipe, AI, for a drink that's not even listed on their menu or anywhere on their website, and tell you exactly what's in it. Like it's mind-blowing when you really think about it.
Yeah, no, it's truly exciting. And I mean, for those out there that are worried and what have you, just reframing it really allows us, and it's a tool that empowers us to doing more of what we want to do, what we love to do in our day-to-day, right? How often are you stuck answering emails, not getting to the things you really want to do, which is building your businesses, not operating your businesses, right? And getting stuck in the day-to-day grind of things. If we can have a tool that cuts even an hour of your day down, right, or more, what would you use that time for? Maybe it's not even work. Maybe it's going home and spending with the family or seeing friends, and doing the things you love to do, right? So I think that's a great way to look at it. It will change our lives, but we need to make sure that it changes our lives for the better.
100%.
I think to that
Jumping
point, I
back
mean,
to
if you shave off
yeah,
an hour a day, there's what, like 256 working days, you know what I mean? So it's like you're talking, 1.5 months extra that you just opened up for yourself working time. Like it's huge, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty unique. And Dan, I mean, I just thought about this as you're talking, you're not using AI in your business, but your business, I'm sure, is heavily profiting off AI. And what I mean by that is, we used to, like Dan said, we had, 15 stores, they had 1,000 designs. We had Dave, who's, the CTO of Print Simple, and Rob, who works with RB Digital now, just cranking out designs all day long. Like Rob, for 2 months prior to Christmas, was just making ugly Christmas sweaters. I guarantee you all these, like to the point where you couldn't even see, like he's going cross-eyed, just so many, like copying and pasting the patterns, But I guarantee you a massive chunk of artwork that you're printing now is all AI driven, like
Yeah.
what used to take Rob, hours to design, he could just type in a script, come up with 5 or 6 options and keep refining it. And in 5 minutes, he has something that's unique and would take him insane amounts of time to produce. So I think our industry from an artwork perspective is being massively influenced from AI.
just look at Etsy.
Yeah.
Look
I
at
mean,
Etsy. I mean, it's crazy. You go into the holiday sweatshirts right now, there's probably 1,400 pages for
yeah,
holiday sweatshirts. And I mean,
yeah.
it's all very similar, right? They're copying each other. They're talking to AI, hey, do something like this, change that, tweak this. Yo, I want to put family names, Johnson at the top. Like it's all very similar, but there's 1,400 pages. So the market's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because of tools like that. But I think it's a great segue and jumping in back into like POD production. Like we're saying, we're saving time with AI, but we also talk about lean manufacturing and the possibility that it brings for large manufacturing companies to be able to have no risk management and to be able to streamline operation and focus on marketing, where they partner up with like a manufacturing company just like Print Geek to be able to like produce all their stuff. I think that's where the jump is going to go in the future of POD, and that's why the market cap right now is what, 5.6 billion, and it's going to go to like 29 billion in the next 6, 7, 8 years.
I mean,
That's my 2 cents, I think.
yeah. I mean, that mindset of on-demand production is now, I mean, I mentioned this before, happening at the retail level. Like I have brother machines in Uniqlo stores. They sell a design, employee goes and prints it in front of everybody. There's no secrets. Hey, we're using a brother machine. We print the shirt and we put it back on the shelf. I mean, that's a game changer. They don't need to now, worry about, oh shit, we're out of mediums or larges, or we have all this, let's discount it. It's all on demand. So it makes these retail companies that, let's be honest, have really suffered over the last, 10 years, literally. I mean, really suffered during the pandemic with everyone starting to shop online. But this is now allowing customers or sorry, companies that are willing to take a leap of faith and bring the production in-house. Yeah, is your cost a little bit higher per print? Sure it is, but it far outweighs the waste, like Dan said. I mean, there's some companies, if they don't sell it, they burn it. They literally burn the merchandise. It's crazy. You know what I mean? This stuff is licensed, so they can't just donate it to a homeless shelter and then you have everyone, walking around with Toronto Maple Leaf t-shirts. They don't want that, right? They want it destroyed or they blow it out for nothing, right? So it's going to be a big change there. And touching on to the topic of starting to print for these larger customers. I mean, Dan, like when we started this business in my bedroom and then upgraded to the garage, like we had no idea what we were doing. We were like flying from the
That sounds
seat
like
of
a
our
whole other
pants.
story that we're not going to get
Yeah,
into.
Yeah. Like I remember Nick during Christmas, he was manually writing out all the labels. Like it was insane.
No
And
way.
yeah, it was crazy. Like he literally sitting there for like 6 or 7 hours handwriting labels. And then, we would send them over to Chit Chat and then have to create the manifest and have to put the line item like this is the t-shirt, this is the color, the size, and this is the subject. We would have to put the subject of the t-shirt. Like it was nuts for the manifest. So
Okay,
so
so
Dan,
when
obviously go ahead.
yeah, when you started, it's a question, right? When you started and you had like those 15 stores, how were you handling the orders? Were you like had one back end for every store and then you went and saw what happened today, or you
Yeah.
were using at least like a
Yeah.
Shopify, like a ship station?
ShipStation was a huge advancement. I think it came in the second Christmas. But yeah, we would log into these
I
stores and we would print
no
out
way.
pages. Listen to that. We would literally
No.
print out all the pages of the orders. And Dave on the fly, literally, and even the next Christmas, he was sending it to like 6 machines at a time. He would have all the Dropbox folders with our customers' artwork. He would go. So and remember, we're printing nonstop. So Dave would pull the artwork, he would size it based on the size, change the
Yep.
profiles, and send it to print within seconds. Like this guy's like a machine, but he would go like
Holy
like 14 hours, 18 hours straight. I remember when I was printing, I literally had a backpack on. You know, one of those backpacks with like the water. Like I wouldn't even stop for water because there was no time. Because if I stopped for lunch, like I'm dead. It was crazy. I mean,
That's
and I
that's a
don't
good
know. I don't
story.
know how we did it. We had the in the garage, like Christmas hit us so hard. We had no idea because we're like 30, 40 orders a day. Then it's like, boom, 300. We're like, shit. My entire first floor of my house, and I had roommates at the time, it was packages everywhere. My kitchen was just mountains. At the end of the night, at like 2 o'clock in the morning, we would have to order the next day from Sanmar. So he would have the pick sheet, and I would sit there with an Excel document, and he would go,
Oh,
okay, one large black removed, two sport gray mediums removed, and he would literally go through, and I would
oh.
sit there for an hour and a half and then draft. It was crazy. My entire backyard was covered with boxes. We would store the garments in the
That's
snow.
insane.
Like it was nuts. So anyways, we've evolved clearly. And Dan, your business has continued to evolve and you've started to attract much of the larger players, not again, you're going after a different market than Sean. You're going after the big boys in the industry, the what do they say, 100, 1,000 pound gorilla or whatever. So
Yeah.
so now as you're running this larger business, it's obviously going to come with its own set of challenges, massive growth pains. Can you talk a little bit about, things like compliance, the compliance side of things like SMETA, audits, insurance, safety standards, anything else that you've had to adopt for these larger customers that even though you're 10 years in, I'm sure a lot of this stuff is new to you and you're being forced to do it, I would assume, right? And that kind of gives you the advantage between all the other competitors. I mean, if someone were to go up to someone and say, hey, do you have your SMETA audits? They're not even gonna know what they're talking about, right? So
Right.
so what does that look like for Print Geek?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, we have acquired a couple of very large clients. They're billion-dollar clients. They're servicing global markets. They're publicly traded companies. They have a lot of visibility um, on them, and they need to be above board in every aspect of their business. So in order to do business with a lot of these people, right? I guess a company that would kind of resonate with everyone would be a Disney, right? You want to work with Disney, you have to check all these boxes before you can even really have the conversation and move that relationship forward with them. So growing to this size and wanting to push forward, we do have these new challenges around compliance audits. And so Zach mentions one of the more well-known audits in the apparel space called SMETA. And so it's an ethical trade audit, and it really includes everything from health and safety, anti-slavery, child labor, supply chain compliance to make sure that the people that you're doing business with, the garments, the products that you're getting overseas, whether it's the US or Europe or Asia, complies with all of these regulatory kind of standards. And then it goes further, right? What's your IT cybersecurity like? What's your information privacy compliance looking like in case there's a breach and you get hacked, right? And now your client's data and their end customers' data gets out there. And then we're also looking at environmental factors like tracking our waste, right? How many cardboard boxes are we breaking down and getting rid of on a weekly basis? How much water are we using in our processes? What kind of chemicals are we storing, right? Are they stored correctly? Are workers safe? And also noise levels. Some of our factory floors are quite loud, right? With some of the equipment that we're running. So it really comes down to like a whole new level when you're at a certain size that you really gotta kind of look at, right? It's really wild.
And
Never thought
people,
about all these things, but yeah.
I mean, think
Right.
about it. I mean, something as simple as cybersecurity. You're like, why is that important? But Dan, I don't know if you remember, like 4 years ago, what was that massive POD company that had the cyber attack, and it literally made them go out of business? Do you remember the name of that?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember what they were called?
Uh, that's a good
Mountain?
question.
Was it something Mountain?
It wasn't Mountain.
Anyways,
It was Merch something, or
and
Merch
this was a
something's a
big
good
shop.
guess. It all starts with merch.
Yeah, I mean, like Dan, and they were a big shop. They had a bunch of Aouns and I think Cornets. Like we're talking a big facility, and they got hit. It was ransom. They were locked out. They had to pay some ransom. They paid it. They locked them out again, and like it literally made them go bankrupt. Like they were done. All their equipment within 120 days was was at auction. It just
That's
wiped them
crazy.
out.
yeah, and you hear about it. I mean, a couple of years ago, I believe it was, I want to say Hanes, or maybe Fruit of the Loom was hit. They had to pay out $300 million to unlock. There's like, it really comes down to it. It's going to happen. It's not whether it will happen or not. It will happen, and you got to be prepared to have a plan in place to get your systems back up and running. Right? Throw out all your computers. Don't pay these people a dime. Have your systems in the cloud, fully protected, and get up and going within days. Because there's a few people that I know personally that got hit, and
And there's an
they
expense
lost
to all this.
3 months of business operations. We can't afford that, especially coming where we've come from over the last few years. We got to push forward. We can't be subject to this kind of craziness. I think now, kind of leading into where we're going with all this compliance. A lot of people are in growing businesses, and I get it. I cut certain corners in terms of insurance that I could afford to buy for myself. We got stuck with one particular overseas client. They stopped paying us, and they were really nice, and we'd been doing business with them for a few years. And they kept on asking for more leniency, more time to pay their bills, and the bill got up to about 100,000 US. And they said, "We can't pay this. We're never going to pay this." Couldn't go after them. Had no insurance to protect ourselves, and we just ate it, which really sucked. So now. We actually have something called receivables insurance, and there's different names for it. It's not cheap, but again, what's the cost of you not getting paid from one big client, whether they're great or not great? You don't want to be put in that position, right? Something called director's insurance. I never heard of it up until a year and a half ago, right? As the owner of a business or partner of a business, if you don't have this particular insurance, you could be personally liable if you get sued for any number of reasons. And we really, we're trying to do good. We're trying to do the best we can in our businesses, but you never know when something happens. And if you could lose your house and disrupt your family and everything that you've really worked so hard to risk and to build, like what's the cost of that, right? So there's a lot of things that really become apparent as you grow in size and get to new levels in your business, right? And there's costs involved in that, right? And there's a challenge of how to build those costs into this world where our clients continue to put pressure for us to lower those costs, right?
I'm thinking about all this. I'm like, all right, we're going into the POD game. This is what's looking at in front of us. This is where we're heading. Fun times.
Right.
Yay. No, it's part of it, and I mean it's okay, right? Because the game is going that way. I don't think screen printing is gonna go anywhere. The reason why is because there's a market for it, right? The company that's gonna print their blanks, like for example Lululemon, and they don't want to sell any design or any customization, they're gonna keep producing blanks that have small items on them because they're not going to waste those items. They can always resell a black shirt, right? A black hoodie. So I think screen printing is going to stay there for that and those large orders. But I think the on-demand route is what the market wants and where the market is shifting. And that's where I feel it's going. That's why we went boat feet into it, right? And it's fun, but like I don't go to sleep at night just thinking about like, all right, what's the trouble that's going to be next? Like I'm thinking about you guys this holiday. I'm like, how do you even do it? Like it's 3 to 5 to 6 times extra than what you'd have normally around the year. Like how do you hire around that? Like is it double shift? Do you like what's the process? Because it's such a spike, right? It's such a different game than standard screen printing where it's kind of average the whole year round. You can keep your whole team.
And September, you might get a 50% growth
Yeah.
or maybe 2x growth, but like, back to school, but nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. You can manage it, right?
Right. Yeah, no, it's wild. So, I mean, our team, 14 of 36 people, in the next month will jump from around 100 to 120 people, right? And we're filling in most of these people through local temp agencies. And so, how do you hire basically 3 times your staff and continue to output the same quality and provide the same service that you were providing just a month earlier from that? So one learning lesson that we figured out earlier on, and we actually failed badly, unfortunately, to kind of learn the lesson, we had one morning shift, like most of us might have. And so we would cram all the volume into this one, 7.5 hour shift. And then come the holiday season, we would build out a second shift and maybe even have a third skeleton kind of crew shift to go overnight. And we found that a lot of our employees did not want to work afternoons. They had a very set routine. They had family life outside of work. So they were disgruntled. They weren't happy that they were getting moved around. And then just the hours, right? You're now going from 7 till 3. And then now you're offering a 3 p.m. till 11 p.m. It's really disruptive for people. So we didn't do great at that. We had a hard time finding the right individuals to move into those more leadership roles and supervisory roles to support everyone coming in from the temp agencies. So we actually tried to create all year round double shift structure, right? So we have around 15 to 17 people on a morning and afternoon shift. People in the morning love the mornings. The people in the afternoons love the afternoons. We can play with the volumes throughout the day, so there's no dry period between the shifts. And we felt that was just so much easier to staff up on. And then you have people that are working together day in, day out. They form these bonds, the trust that's needed to kind of driving that team forward. We're now bringing in 50 more employees on that shift, or 30 to 50 more employees on that shift. All of these people can manage these new individuals a lot better because they're more confident in working as a team together, right? So that was a huge benefit for us.
Just bringing them on board and having them go through the system, go through the process, having your SOPs there and marked there, and training that many people that quickly. It's still like it's just stress on the business. It's the stress on the team. It's just like that must be something for everybody, right? Not just you, but like the whole team.
Right. And I mean, I think we've all experienced at some point in our businesses hiring temp workers or maybe being in the temp working scene. I actually was a temp worker myself in between all the different things I've done because I get bored easily and I wanted to see what kind of work I would get. So I did that for over a year actually, and I bounced around between a lot of companies, and you get all kinds of people, right? Some people are super motivated. They're these unicorns that you probably end up hiring because they just bring so much value to your team. And then you get people that are just really doing the absolute bare minimum, right? Just to try and collect a paycheck without getting noticed, but they're really not doing anything. And a lot of times they could actually hurt the team and the systems, right? That you're trying to build. It really comes down to technology for us. particularly. We've really dialed in our workflows, the tech that backs our systems, and how orders flow through the production workflow, which really allow us to ramp and scale quickly. And really, if somebody needs a day or 2 days to be trained, you really have to question yourself, what can go wrong with this process? What's the cost to the business? How do you measure the performance of this person if they're not doing the job, if they're not getting it right? So how can we get this 1 to 2 day training session down to an hour to 2 hours? How can we simplify the process? So this one person knows it, but everyone knows it. They could all support each other as well when things go wrong, right? Because people learn at different speeds. So for us, it came down to technology, automation, and really looking at our processes and just simplifying them. Less click points, less touch points, right? Super easy, super intuitive.
And, I think, companies that are in POD, they need to be willing to look at automation as probably next to equipment where they're going to be spending the most money. I mean, Dan, if you were to look at like last year, or if you were to ballpark how much you think you've invested, I'm sure it's in the hundreds of thousands.
It is. And again, this obviously is a scary conversation with a lot of people. But again, it comes down to what kind of business are you building, right? And what are the costs to building that business, right? So being very upfront and transparent. Over the last 8 years, we've dealt with about 3 different, maybe 4 different developers that kind of piggybacked off the last developer to patch and create and build on a legacy system. 18 months ago, we really had a tough decision to make that legacy system could not take us into the future, right? It was taking us several months to onboard new clients, to onboard new products, just not easy for us to really move forward. And that legacy system really only did 2 things. It allowed clients to send us orders, and it also allowed us to view those orders through an order management system and do some visual quality control around that. So our new system that we actually just launched a couple of weeks ago, it's a full-blown ERP. Out of the box, maybe it got us 70% of the way, right? We needed to custom build the other 30%. So we spent 18 months doing that. Right now,
I mean, an ERP, a lot of times I don't know what you spent, but it could be like 400 grand. I mean, I think we got a quote for like 600 grand to look at a new ERP system at RB.
Right. So we've actually invested just over 600 into the system. And as a part of that cost, it was us bringing in a CTO. That CTO hiring a couple of local developers. We hired a team of 4 individuals overseas, and we're actually bringing in 2 more developers and winding down the overseas team. And we've actually partnered with a gold partner that really specializes in a couple of the modules. So, I mean, for those of you that aren't aware of what an ERP system is, it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, which doesn't mean anything to anyone, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if you look at the word resources, right, you're looking at all these different components of your system, right? So how do you get an order? How do you follow that order from start to finish, out the door to your customer? How does this system now connect to your accounting, your invoicing, your purchasing department, how you receive things, how you put things away into your warehouse, and the full cycle of all that? The system allows all of these departments and all these resources to communicate with each other. So it's fully transparent to everyone in the organization and very easily tracked and measured, right? So that's the future for us. We're pretty excited.
Yeah, and I mean that is everyone wants to get into POD, but it's that automation investment into developing it, and that is the biggest barrier to entry. I mean, anybody can come up with $300,000-$400,000 if they have a decent business to buy equipment. But even if you had the money, even if you had $500,000 to invest in a system, I mean, Dan, how many companies did we go through? I know that we dealt with two, and the first time was like, they could build out everything for 60 or 80,000. What a bargain. And then after 9 months, nothing got done. We're like, okay, well, we just burned 90 grand. And then it was the other company, and that was like $250,000, and then that got burned. And you've developed your system for 8 years, then you scrap that. I mean, I'm sure you had invested well over $1 million, maybe potentially a couple million into a project that then you had to scrap. And that's how Print Simple was born. I mean, when I was at working with my cousin Dan, you have horse blinders on. You think that what you're doing, everybody else is doing. And then when I joined RB Digital and I'm in these other shops, I'm like, wait, what? You're doing this all manually? Like, it was crazy. And that's when I saw the opportunity to tell Dave, hey, listen, there's a serious hole in the market, right? To get someone up and running with minimal investment, and they would benefit from a cloud-based software that as it progresses, as clients pay for specific types of customization, everyone improves, and it's done at a fraction of the cost. I mean, it's allowed someone like Sean to jump in January and become, a serious player in the POD space very quickly. It's something
Yes.
that is needed, right?
Yeah, I mean, off-the-shelf systems are great because it allows us to get speed to market very quickly. And once you're selling and you're seeing that business, then you have some time to sit back and figure out what you want to do next. For us, we have so many clients that have very specific needs that we just needed to build it ourselves and have that full control. And it also offers, if you look at it a little bit differently, it could offer your business value because it's an asset that you own that's proprietary to your business, right? So if you are planning an exit in the future or some level of exit strategy in the next 5 or 10 years, could this add value to your business, right?
Of course.
And does that yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's that, and then there's also the fact that you're a large company as well that has your SOP, that has things in place. And it's not like you're joining a software where there's pre-made stuff, like your warehousing, your binning, your everything is set up in the way it is right now. And maybe you would log into a software to where the bidding system is not the same. You would have to change everything. So the way, like for you to build it, it's because you were at a point where you had to build it. It was so big. You weren't at the starting phase where you weren't offering POD and we're like, yeah, I can jump into the software and use what's there and build with that, right? You can build your bidding system with the way they built it inside, right? That's kind of like why it's working so great with us. It's like we didn't have anything in place before, so what's there we're going to use and we're going to build with that, which is why I think Principle is so great for us. But I can see why for you guys it's definitely not an option because of the scale of the business and as well like the complexity that you have. That maybe it wasn't answering those questions, right? And there's also the upside of building it on your own.
Yeah,
For
no,
sure.
yeah, and I mean Dave is the right person for it because he went through all the fires and walked through all the trenches that we all walked and figured out the problems and the solutions that are needed to overcoming a lot of these problems to getting that off the shelf solution going, and it's actually really great.
Yeah.
It's
Dan,
going to help a lot
let's
of print shops.
totally. Let's jump into DTF. It's a very common topic here, obviously, because it's the hot thing in the market right now. What's your take on DTF? If you were to, what are the advantages? Obviously, compared to DGG, you don't have to worry about what material. It's way cheaper, more consistent. You don't get dye migration. What are some of the pros and cons that you see with DTF, and how do you see, I know you're starting to implement it with hats. Do you see that diving into other products? How do you see yourself growing with DTF? I mean, is it a plan for next year? Sean jumped in January and he's at 5 machines, 5 Mamakis. He just bought 2 more. They're going to arrive in about a week from now. He's getting ready for the Christmas peak. What's your take on DTF? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, so I mean, I really love the technology. Funny enough, a lot of people don't know the origin story of DTF. DTF has been around for almost a decade, which is actually shocking for some people. We've only really seen it take North America by storm over the last, maybe 3 or 4 years. But it was really big in Italy at one point, and then the whole market kind of imploded, and the mob was involved in the business, so that's a whole nother story for another time. But pretty wild stuff going on with direct to film. But I love it because it looks awesome. I got a whole bunch of samples in Asia from about 7 different companies. 3-4 years ago, I pressed all these items onto shirts. A lot of them were pretty crappy, but one of them was a Captain America print that I still wear to
Dan's
this day.
favorite shirt.
I like to product test it at least once a week and throw it in the washing machine. So this thing's gone through the wash probably 70 times, and I'm not joking. It's gone through the wash 70 times, and for having a normal conversation, we're standing a meter from each other. This thing looks awesome still, right? Really awesome.
The shirt's falling apart. I'm sure the shirt's falling apart.
Yeah, my wife's saying, get rid of that damn shirt. It's got holes in it.
You're like, this is for R&D. I need this to claim my shred credit.
R&D. It's R&D. So, I love it. I think some of the pros compared to some of the other print methods is you can apply this thing to almost any material, which that alone is a huge win factor, right? Whether it's fully synthetic apparel. I mean, you could put it onto a Lycra umbrella and offer corporate wear and all kinds of cool stuff. The great thing about it is you can do a lot of...
I have a massive client. Yeah, sorry, Dan. I have a massive client. They offer hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different bags. And they used to do all these different printing technologies. And literally, every single bag except one material. It's almost like a plastic, like it'll melt in the heat press. But and even umbrellas, like you said, they do umbrellas and all the bags with DTF now. It's a game changer.
It really is. And when you think about it, okay, one of the advantages against direct to garment is how many people are going to spend 2, 3, 4 times the money decorating multiple locations with direct to garment. That t-shirt has to go through the entire process. The only things that you're eliminating is the picking and the shipping component. But the actual production printing, it's got to go through, right? So the cost is going to remain pretty high. With DTF, you can hit that garment with 5 different locations at a minimal increase in cost, which is really exciting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So, I mean, some the cost, the durability, flexibility of materials, like we talked about. The cons, a lot of our clients are very against it right now. And I guess they're coming from a standpoint for around the feel, the look of it. It looks more plasticky, it's heavy. Not a lot of artists understand how to design to really make that technology shine, right? You want a lot of knockouts so it flows and feels smooth with the garment. A lot of people are still trained to put this giant block image on a t-shirt, and that's not really great for DTF. I do think it will improve over time as the chemical compositions get better. But for now, these are some of the things that I'm hearing. For one-off POD, not easy either, right? How do you organize 1,000 transfers that are completely different, going to different addresses and streamline that process? Not terribly easy right now, right? You need a lot of tech pushing that system.
Sean's doing it right now. He's doing all those Mamakis are doing one-off POD.
Yeah, well, you got the secret sauce going.
Yeah, it's roughly right now. It's like 2,500 shirts a day,
right?
With DTF. That's our cap right now. The goal is to add 2 more DTFs and then 4 people that stamp. The problem at first was matching DTF with the garment, but now we solved that by bunching up orders, so it creates tasks to where we can print all the sheets. And they groups up, like this client sold 30 of them, so it groups them up together, and then we print those. They have a task item ID on them. It prints the person at the end of the oven. We don't go through a roll-to-roll machine because it's too long. I don't want to cut 150 artwork at the end of a roll, right? So I have one person who's running in the shop. It's a big U. She has 5 Mamakis, and she's printing, she's cutting, applying hand powder into an oven. So there's like, I call them the hot sheets because they're coming off the press at the end of the oven, like 1 second at a time. They're just coming off. And then we have 2 people at the end that are cutting the sheets, and they're putting the barcodes onto the sheet. So the team is actually picking with the sheets. Instead of like, I saw Printful do it, and I'm sharing the secret sauce, right? But I don't care. It's fine. It's with print simple. It's in the software. If you pick with your artwork instead of picking the garment and then going to a bin, you're saving one step. But like Printful and all their videos and everything, they're binning the artwork and then they're going and picking the shirt and coming finding the artwork again. So they're binning everything to the same thing, right? We eliminated the bins. We're like, go pick with your artwork because the artwork has the SKU to it. That's how we save it. So in 5 Makis prints a lot of artwork. So it rolls. My picking team, we have three person just picking garments. They go, they pick, stack, and it goes to the presses. Go pick, stack, go to the press. And yeah, it's a nice workflow to do that. But again, I think we're missing education, just like you said, for the artwork. I think that's the biggest aspect, right? A lot of our customers, like for example, the shirt you're wearing right now is great for DTG. I wouldn't do that with DTF. But anything that's vector or it's like corporate wear or sportswear, I think DTF is 100 times better than DTG.
100%.
Right?
Totally.
So it's just, and a lot of people, like we got a customer last week that shared a story and they were like, oh, print tees, and there was hearts versus Printify where it was like a guy vomiting. And I wrote to her, I was like, you don't get it. It's not your supplier what you have with Printify that was bad. Is the artwork that you use is beneficial for DTF. If you would have shown me the same thing with an image that faded onto the shirt, you would have said Printy sucks and Printify is amazing. Yeah. It's just because DTG is amazing for, even though you use half
Sean.
tones.
Yeah, but Sean, the difference is you would have taken that order and you internally would have decided, hey, we're not going to DTF that. We're going to print thousands on the brothers.
100%. I agree with that. But that's not something Dan can do with the volume of orders he's getting. And that's not something he can scale a POD company with. You can't say every order that comes in, my customer sent me an order for DTG and he paid for DTG. And I'm going to be like, oh, that's going to be ugly. I'm going to change that for him for DTF. And he's not like, you can't do that. Even though I would like to. What I'm saying is like, I agree, but then the only downside to it is that the industry is missing education. And to be honest, the biggest company out there that's giving the information is Printful, and they're not doing a good job because they have millions of dollars on their Kornit, so they still want to sell their Kornit prints. And it's fine, it's okay. But they also have their DTF prints, and they're not educating people the right way. So I think it's a big misconception because DTF is great for vector artworks. It's not the best for images because you have to half tone it, and then half toning it, you have to go into Photoshop. It's not something you're going to do, right? It's not scalable. I think DTG has its place and DTF has its place. So I think the on-demand market is just going to get better quality once the education rolls out and people are going to use it for the right reason. And when I told that to the girl, she was like, didn't know. I was like, yeah, like they have machines that cost millions of dollars. Like you get a Polaris, you get a Rock Now, you get a Kornit. Like they're amazing machines. They print great prints. Even the brother that we have that right there, that's $130,000, and the prints are amazing when they come off of it, right? But you just have to use the right prints for the right technique for the right garment. So
exactly.
And she was like, oh, thank you for the education. I was like, so when I saw that, I was like, I need to make a video for like the print on demand clients, not for printees, just for like everybody out there. Hey guys, and I want to shoot like showcase video where like, this is DTG, this is DTF. Look at our machines. They're super expensive. Look at this print here. This is an image. Look how amazing it is with DTG. You would much prefer that versus this one because it's not plasticky. So it's like, I want to try to and educate the industry to where a customer is going to choose the right thing for them, and it's going to be more profits for them because the customer is going to buy again because they like the shirt that they ordered, right? So even some customers that process orders with us, they're just like, it's a massive image with DTF. I'm like, dude, like DTG is offered for this shirt. Like, what are you doing? But yeah,
place for one technology versus another, and I think that's 100% accurate, right? I think it's part of our job to teach people and let them make the decision for themselves, right? But yeah, we're getting there, right? And things are moving so quickly, right? Especially the corporate clients, they're not really sure what's out there. They just want their logo on a t-shirt. They're not really worried about whether you're hand painting it or choosing direct to garment or direct to film, right? They just want the best quality to deliver to their event.
Talking about other things than DTF and shirts, stickers. That's one thing that baffles me in my mind. one-off stickers when you have a large format printer. Like for us on the other side, all we do is car wraps and like it's everything's big, right? So in my mind, it's like it's simple. How do you ensure first profitability for like such small items and how do you run them? Like how do you in my mind that's as complicated as DTF because where is that going? What order? How is the flow for that?
Yeah, so stickers is a really interesting product, and I would say 97% of the stickers that we produce are about 3 by 4 inches. So they're tiny, right? Something that you would stick on a water bottle or a laptop. And so in the early days, we had the opportunity to print this product. And from my graphic design background, I said, well, there's no way you could trace the sticker, right? These are not being printed and cut in squares and circles. We are tracing the exact
Okay.
contour. And you could imagine if we're producing 2 to 3,000 of these a day, 90% of them are completely different from the next sticker, right? You would
100%.
need a team of graphic artists tracing these stickers in Adobe Illustrator for maybe a week just to get maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of them, right, traced and ready for production. So we reached out to a company. They leveraged their artwork production flow and they really stretched it, customized it to be able to take on a couple thousand of these images and go through these wild workflows and add these tracing lines and then mock them up into 4 by 4 sheets, into grids, added variable data barcodes, order information so people could actually bin whether they bought 3 small stickers and 1 large sticker that has to go into a bin so it could be shipped all together. We spent a number of months, many months developing that. It was very slow. To give you an idea, I think one Black Friday we had about 7,000 stickers that came in that very next morning. It took
Holy
that
cow.
system 48 hours to compute all of that and have it production ready. So we're going like over our production limits because we have to get things around in 48 hours. And then the next day we're getting slammed, and then Cyber Monday, and then we're getting slammed again. So we were
Yeah.
backlogged at one point. I think almost 100,000 stickers. It was insanity.
Oh,
So we're just producing, and eventually we got ahead of the curve, and we were able to hit all of our holiday orders. But it was super stressful. So
oh my God.
the next year,
And
I
Dan,
went out.
you don't have Papa Neto there anymore. Dan's dad, he used to in the early times, instead of going through agencies, and we tried hiring friends and family, and Dad's dad and mom, I think for a couple of years they were like taking care of that whole sticker game for you, right? I don't know if they're
Right,
still
yeah,
involved in the
geez.
sticker production, but
Sometimes you need the big guns to come out and
There we
and
go.
take care
Yeah,
of production,
exactly.
right? No, they're not around very often anymore. They only come up when they're bored and they want to socialize with people.
Good.
Um, so we figured this is not going to work, right? This product's growing. How the hell do we do this in a timely manner to be profitable? So I went out. I interviewed a number of companies overseas. I spent 8 months developing a completely custom software that's built on pixel algorithms, and we eventually created a system that can process about 10,000 stickers in less than 30 minutes, which is wild at a
Holy cow.
98% accuracy in terms of the trace line. So we even optimized the curvature of these vector lines to increase the cutting process by almost 30% as well. So these are all things that I kind of brought to the table with my graphic design and project managed and architected this whole system. But it's this type of technology that allows us to do more with less touch points, less, and people are always going to be needed, but how can we do it the right way to be profitable, right? We want to build something that's going to last and grow, right?
quick question for you. I know you're running the Epson Sure Colors for the stickers, and you're running Sumas for the cutters. Are you using the drag knife or using the tangential cutters? I forget which ones you got.
So they are tangential.
Yeah, so the S3 tangent, that's our top of the line seller. So it's
Right.
amazing. It helps. I mean, for those that don't know, and I think Suma has the patent on it because no other cutters, every other cutter I see in the market is a drag knife. But basically, every time it goes around, it moves in a different direction. The blade actually lifts up, rotates, and goes back down. So you don't have that issue. I'm sure you've seen sometimes with stickers, you go to peel it and the corners kind of get stuck. It eliminates that problem completely, which is amazing.
Yeah, when you're dealing with this level of customization and uniqueness with infinite types of shapes and the size of the shapes, the cutting equipment really needs to be accurate and fast, right? So it's
So you're using it's not a flatbed. You're really using a sumo. It lets a roll to roll. It cuts. It die cut.
Yeah, he's running
yeah,
a bunch of
yeah,
them. You have like I don't know 3 or something. We've been talking about the
Yeah.
flatbed Suma for a while because what a
But
lot
why
and
not the flatbed?
so the cool thing about the S3 tangential, what a lot of people do, they have a take-up system. Dan, I don't know if you know this, that you could add to the tangential, and you basically send it through, and it does all the kiss cuts, and then you take up the take-up reel, and you put it onto the flatbed, and then it does all the through cuts. Because the way that Dan does his stickers, they're a square, right? And then in that square, it has the barcode, and then there's the die cut in there. So what a lot of shops do that are higher volume, they'll do the tangential cutting for the die cut sticker, and then they transfer it over the flatbed to do the final cut through. Right, Dan?
yeah. It's
The labor, like
the
moving
illusion,
it.
right? Because you can use it for multiple different products, right? We could use it for our posters. We could use it for our mug transfer papers. Did I mention we do phone case covers? I forgot.
Yeah.
I'll squeeze that in the last minute. And so it's great, but they're large gantries, right? Which is that bridge that holds the knife and moves it back and forth, and they're actually quite a bit slower than a roll-to-roll machine. So, to Zach's point, if you could utilize a lot of the heavy lifting on the roll machine, which is going, 1,000
Fast.
inches per minute or not per second. I don't even know. It's a
But
ridiculous
it's
number.
crazy fast.
You want to utilize that equipment and then push whatever else onto the flatbeds, right? But yeah, they're both great solutions to the intricate cutting.
That's interesting. Seeing that volume come in day in, day out, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, it is wild. You wonder where all these stickers are being stuck to.
Exactly.
So Dan, kind of to wrap up, I mean, looking ahead, what are some of Print Geek's future plans? Obviously, you've discussed you're exploring direct-to-consumer portals. We've had some demos with Print Simple, and you're thinking about maybe going after the direct-to-consumer model. Obviously, higher margin, less volume, more customer service per se. But I know that's something that you're thinking. People that's on Amazon, Etsy, and all that kind of stuff. What can we expect to see from Print Geek in the near future? Any big plans for next year at all?
Yeah, so with the launch of our ERP, kind of comes a whole bunch of new potential opportunities that we weren't able to really look at seriously up until this point. And so it really allows us for a great flexibility to kind of go back to the roots where we started off in that garage, supporting, empowering merchants, and dealing with one-off businesses, in our local space, and offering a service that it's been around for a long time. You look at companies like Vistaprint and there's other similar style models. They're all out there. They've all been around for quite a while, but we feel like there's still a bit of a gap, right? The quality is not as good as us. The service, the speed, and I think we can maybe play in that space a little, and we'll be looking at those ideas, creating portals for people to easily connect to us through some of the merchant platforms could be a play as well. We're at a point, well, Zach obviously, but Sean and I are at a point in the business where we've seen some pretty great economies of scale, right, where we're able to buy certain materials, raw goods at certain prices. Could we turn some of these things around and offer it to smaller businesses, right, on Amazon, and sell finished goods, right? There's a whole sales channel just reselling some of these products, which, again, opportunities, whether we take them or not, these opportunities are kind of coming to the table now, which is pretty exciting. And then looking at the promotional space is just very, in my opinion, traditional. You have these client relationships, you build on them, and every year you're just pushing that next product, whether it's the new drink bottle or the pen or the blanket, whatever that company is looking for to give away at their corporate events. But they're still not really pushing the POD. And I mean, the obvious reason is it's not easy, right? How can a lot of these smaller promotional businesses deal with that much one-off volume? Or you have an event, you need 50 or 100 t-shirts for a Christmas party. It's going to have that logo, right? But let's customize it. Everyone can put their call sign, like some wild, crazy message on the back of their t-shirt. Now it's 100 unique POD t-shirts, still going to one customer, but it just brings a whole nother level of personalization, and it really builds the experience when these people get together, right? And celebrate that party together. So we think there could be some cool tech tools that could empower some of these smaller promo companies to getting more involved in the POD space as well.
I think it's a great plan, and I think you guys have an advantage because you started with the thing that's hard. Right? The POD and the technology that you guys had to build to be where you are today is the hardest part. Everybody would do it if it was easy, right? And I mean, every print shop opens up and does the opposite. They go and hit the market for promotional stuff and bulk orders and brands. But you did the opposite, and I think it's a big advantage that you guys had, and that's why you guys are so big now and probably the biggest POD company in Canada, right? Taking that as an advantage, I think there's also the market for like brands out there or even large corporate companies that don't see the POD side that you could also go after and be like, hey guys, we also offer this POD solution. We can do your merch, but like, why not go POD? Like we have it. It's going to be the same quality, same speed. So you can order in bulk or you can order like one-offs. It's up to you. I think that's a market that you guys could go after because of the technology that you have. And I think that's interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example of that is Avid Apparel. You know, they got on with Print Simple for POD about 2 or 3 months ago. They were only using it for one customer. You know, they print for a lot of brands, and they're running them a Mackie DTF for their POD, and they got rid of DTG completely, and now they're at the point they're like, okay, we're comfortable with the software. We print for all these brands. You know, let's start offering one-off POD to all of our customers. You know, their smallest run size, I believe, is 500 pieces. And that's like them doing exceptions for bigger customers. Their average run size is 5,000 and up. But all those customers, you know, a lot of them, they do drops, right? So it's like, here's a cool design and it's available and boom. But why not continue to sell that? Have the, you know, the vault collection where it's still available one off. Yeah, they pay an extra $10, whatever it is, $5. But they could still have access to that artwork. So, you know, that's a client that I think started off with, you know, doing retail, slowly accepted POD, and now they're ready to scale it also.
Yeah. It's a great system. Some people call that endless aisle, right? You have a product on the shelf, but it's infinite when it transfers to online. It never needs to disappear.
Why should it, right?
Well, exactly.
This is fun. I think we should do this without the podcast. Just call each other.
Yeah.
So what's your pain point? Are you sleeping this week? No, I'm not sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble. I don't know how we're going to print these shirts. Yeah.
Dan's gonna strike the fear.
Christmas.
He's gonna strike the fear of what's to come. So I don't know if you're ready for that.
So
We're talking about
Let's talk after Christmas.
Talk in January. You can laugh about the headaches.
Get ready for 3 to 5x your volume from 1 week to the next, and just prepare for it. Pretend like it's gonna happen, and talk to your staff so they're not surprised. And if it doesn't happen, man, at least all of the worry is kind of past you, right? And if it does happen, you're just gonna hit the ground running and just flow into it. We just installed another piece of equipment. We'll have about 10,000 unit a day capacity going into the holidays.
Insane.
So it's pretty exciting.
That's insane.
And to touch on one of your earlier points, how do we keep our quality through the holidays? We talked about it, how we do it. But last year, even through the holidays, our average defect rate was around 24 units for every 10,000 orders shipped. 10,000 items shipped. So that's a 0.24%. We were
Amazing.
the highest rated on one of the open merchant platforms out of 80 other vendors. Some of those vendors are printing paper, and we all
That's
know
a big
paper is a
accomplishment
pretty
right
easy
there.
product to print.
Huge
Yes.
accomplishment.
That's
So,
insane.
cool.
Yeah. You know,
Well, Dan,
if it's one thing for people, you have price, quality, and service. You can only ever choose two, right? We never choose price. We always choose quality and service because it's not the value of one customer making one purchase, it's the lifetime value of that customer. And what does that mean to your customers or your clients' customers, right? To get those people coming back, to building the trust, to getting to that level 4 or 5 brand advocacy, to believe in what you're producing, right? And using the right technology and the equipment to produce it.
Man, you couldn't have said it any better, and especially when you're doing it for other people, right? It's their customers that keep coming back. So if you do a good job, like it's a full circle, it comes back, and I think you definitely have to focus on those key points, and you said it perfectly. Like you can't have three, you have to
Right.
focus on two. Yeah,
cool.
this
Well,
was
Dan,
this was amazing.
Yeah,
This is
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. We'll take a break and go for another hour and a half or what?
Yeah, exactly. Did you guys see the new Polaris the pre-treat where it prints the
shape.
pre-treat
Yeah, the shape to
in the shape of the art?
pre-treat system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
no ghosting on the heather grays, no anything.
yeah, it's
That's
pretty crazy.
Yeah,
yeah.
it keeps on changing. It's changing so
Keeps on
fast.
changing, evolving. Yeah, but I think that's going to be a good technology.
Well, thank God. If not,
Zach,
I'd be out of business if nothing was changing. I'd have nothing new
so
to.
now I said that, Zach is going to be like, "Hey, Sean, you remember that machine? You want it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, you want to come see it? Let's go to Long Beach. Let's go to Long
Let's
Beach. Let's go see that
let,
machine."
let's do it. Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I'm
going to
sure that's the
happen
next
one day
time
or
you guys
another.
will meet. Will be in Long Beach. Dan, you'll be there, obviously. Dan, you're heading to Long Beach, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
let's make a plan. We'll grab some food, grab a drink, hang out, and keep on geeking out.
100%. I love it.
Sounds good. Well, Dan,
Thanks
thanks for
everyone for
joining,
watching.
buddy.
Yep,
All right,
it's been
guys,
fun.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Talk soon.
All right, cheers.